Good afternoon. We're here with you again today. This is Wednesday, August 19th. I apologize for a little bit of a delay right there. We're running about 6-7 minutes late. We had some technical difficulties that we have ironed out. I wanted to make sure when we did go live that everything was working properly. So again, my apologies for the slight delay in getting on today. I want to start off by thanking everybody. We had a number of participants on our first public forum on Monday night when we discussed health and safety, transportation, and
internet
connectivity technology. We had a number of participants, many questions that we answered that were excellent questions. And again, I can't reiterate enough what I said the other night, which is that your questions and your concerns are extremely important to us, and we want to make sure that we get them answered the best of our ability. I did have a few people follow up with me after Monday's meeting, and I did get back to them as I said I would. And we've continued to monitor the Google form, which again is live. You can still submit questions even during this forum this afternoon on that Google form, and we will be monitoring it as the session goes along. Tonight's two topics are 7 through 12 instructional plan, which will be presented by our junior senior high school principal, Kevin Warren, and special education students and instruction in K through 12 and throughout the district, which will be presented by Kyle O'Brien. I just want to point out on the homepage of our website, if you notice the news and announcements on the right-hand side of the homepage that you land on when you go to www.oesj.org. The link to these forums is updated there, and when you click on the link, you will notice that the videos from previously recorded sessions, in this case that is just Monday, is actually posted. So when you click on the link and you see the listing of the forums, you'll see a link that says click here to view the video, and you can go ahead and click on that video and watch the recording of Monday night session if you were not able to attend the live version. And we will continue to do that. It does take some time to upload to YouTube, but as soon as it's uploaded and we're able to, we will then get that over to the website and update it so that if you're not able to attend, or if you know somebody else that wasn't able to attend, they are able to watch the recording, and again, may follow up with questions if they feel like there's something we didn't answer. So again, I want to thank you for attending if you're joining us now, and thank you if you're watching this recorded, because we want to make sure everybody has all the information that they need. So the first topic for tonight is going to be special education instructional plan for students in grades K through 12 district-wide. And for that, I'm going to call up our Director of Student Support Services, Kyle O'Brien.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about special education, and I'll also talk about social, emotional well-being, some of those things that fall under that category as well. So I'll start off with some questions. We didn't get a whole bunch of questions on our forum, but I did write down some questions that are commonly asked questions in regards to students with disabilities or those that have IEPs. So the first one, will my child's IEP be affected by the reopening plan? So whether we move to remote learning or in-person learning, however that looks for that day, depending on that day, your child will still get the services that are in their IEP to the fullest extent possible. So just be aware that sometimes, similar to what happened in the spring, sometimes on the IEP it may have said group, but due to teletherapy and some issues surrounding grouping students commonly at the same time, that sometimes became problematic. So ultimately, they're going to get the services that are on their IEP, but they may look a little bit different than what is written on there in terms of delivery. Okay. Next question is, will my child still receive such services as occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech, and counseling services remotely? So those services are all, that generally falls under what's called related services. So the answer is yes to that. Related services will be provided in accordance with the student's IEP. And then we talked just briefly a moment ago about how it's going to look potentially a little bit different if they have individual or group on their IEP. Mostly it would affect group, not individual, because group, meaning if they weren't, the speech therapist wasn't able to get all the kids on at a time, that's where it might fall to individual. So the individual shouldn't change, but the groups may, depending on what students are participating at that specific time. The other next question is, will my child be transported to off-site special education programs? And that's similar to HFM BOCES, Northeast Parent Child, wherever we may transport students for their special ed program. And the answer to that is, again, is yes. We will be providing transportation for those students. Those students will be expected to wear a mask on the bus or face covering. However, if there's some medical issue that necessitates they're unable to do that, then we would ask you to reach out to our office, Student Services, and let us know that, and then we might require or ask a medical note from the doctor to verify that, okay? So we will be providing services. And the next question, right off that one, is are BOCES and private schools still operating? And they are at this time. So again, things are always changing. There's a lot of moving parts. One thing is, we think today sometimes changes tomorrow based on guidance from the governor, what school districts that they're doing surveys, potentially with their staff, all those things. So BOCES at this time is providing in-person instruction 5 days a week with no option for remote learning. Our private school providers, again, being Northeast or any of those similar programs that a child may attend, those programs or those providers are offering the option of in-learning, so being live instruction, or remote learning only. So those options are out there. You should, again, if you have questions about this specifically, please reach out to our office. We can go over those individually, how it pertains to your child, what they're looking to do, or you're looking to do in terms of providing instruction, or what their instructional day will look like. Will CPSE and CSE meetings still occur? They will. You'll remember last year in the springtime, we moved to virtual meetings, and we're going to continue to do that going forward. So we will be meeting. We did it conference calls. Well, that's why we will continue to move forward with those meetings, but they will still occur. So if you have questions or concerns about your child's program as it relates to special education, you should reach out to our office and let us know, and we can kind of walk you through some of your concerns and how we can address them, as well as, if you feel needs to be a meeting for your child, we can do that as well. Okay. This one pertains to speech therapists and the need for masks. And we will be expecting that children and staff will be wearing masks when they're receiving speech language therapy services. However, we have been fortunate enough to order some clear masks, so that way the both teacher and student can see each other's lips and provide it that way. So, all right, so that's it as far as my questions go regarding special education. But one other thing I will add to this whole thing is, for those students who are in our self-contained programs, meaning in district, not going out to BOCES or a different program, they will be receiving in live instruction as much as we can possibly give them. So meaning that at the high school, where it's a hybrid approach, those students will be coming in on the days when both groups are in session, let me rephrase that. They will be coming in a majority of the school days. And again, we will address what that looks like going forward. So if you have specific questions about that, let me know. But our self-contained students at the high school will be in almost every day. And the same thing with the students at the elementary school. If they're in a self-contained classroom, they would still be receiving instruction every day. Okay, so then we're going to jump into social emotional well-being. And so this talks about our mental health needs of our students, and it can be our staff, and sometimes it can even be parents. I know it can be overwhelming as a parent to try to navigate the waters. We're asking you to instruct your children at home, sending them to school, all these kinds of concerns. Certainly, we're here to offer you as much help as we can, or your child. And if we can't specifically help you, being the adults, we can certainly guide you to some of the resources where you can seek some assistance. So the first question as it relates to social emotional well-being, what supports are available for my child's mental health needs? So we continue and we will continue to have in place our school counselors. That would be our guidance counselors at the junior, senior high school. At the elementary level, we have our social worker. You also have our school nurse. At the high school, we have our social worker there. We also contract with some outside agencies where some of our students receive some mental health services. So those things will still be in effect. Our school psychologist is also another one who can be relied upon to assist during this. So, and where can a student reach out to a counselor if stressed? So students who are in distress or in need of social emotional support may visit their school counseling office or their social worker. They can contact the school nurse. They could contact their building principal. And as always, if your child is in immediate need of assistance, you will need to contact their outside provider first. Okay, if they're working with somebody, don't wait until the next school day. If it's, they're in an emergency and if it's a real emergency, you need to reach out to 911. So I would encourage that. If you feel your child's in, great distress, our staff, are here during normal school hours, but if it's outside of those hours, you really need to reach out to their outside provider. Mobile crisis unit is another option, or, again, if it's very significant, you need to reach out to 911. Please don't be afraid to explore those avenues. And I would say, don't wait until the next day and thinking, oh, it'll be okay. Reach out immediately. A phone call, nobody will be offended at any of those places if you do reach out to them. And finally, how will social emotional support be provided during remote instruction? So again, we talked about speech language, we talked about OT, some of those things. Counseling will be very similar, that they will be reaching out, and we did this again in the spring. They did it through Google Meets. Sometimes they had phone calls where they were, calling from a school phone, using those kinds of things. So that'll be basically how we will address those needs when we are in remote learning for students. Obviously, if kids are in school, it'll be face-to-face that they'll be receiving those services. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Harris, and he's going to go from there. Try to figure out my mask.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Just monitoring the form. I know one of the topics that came up was not, or listed as one of the topics for the forums. Athletics was not listed as one of the topics. I'm sure that can be certainly meshed in with the 7 through 12 instructional plan, because we do not provide interscholastic athletics until the student gets into 7th grade at the earliest. So the general gist on this is New York State, Morse Section 2, has released any final decision regarding interscholastic athletics for the fall or for the entirety of the 2021 school year. They pushed the start date for those fall sports back to September 21st, and there has not been any change to that at this point. That is not local decision. The school district is not able to modify, change, or adapt that until the New York State Public High School Athletic Association makes their decision. I have heard that decision could be coming next week, but as of right now, there has been no change in decision made for any type of interscholastic athletic competition, whether it's modified junior varsity or varsity, for the 2021 school year, beyond that the start date was pushed back into late September. So as of right now, we're still in a holding pattern. And that, again, is not OESJ's holding pattern. That is the holding pattern we're put in until we get a further decision from New York State Public High School Athletic Association. As far as the use of our facilities, that is somewhat, and I use that loosely, but somewhat more of a local decision. But what we cannot have are students gathering on our school grounds per guidance from the Department of Health at this time, even outside, unless we're trying to provide some plan for following social distancing guidelines and the wearing of masks and things along those lines. So that is a conversation that we've started to have and we'll continue to have. And when we have more information on the use of our grounds, not for the purposes of interscholastic athletics until I have a decision from the state, but whether it's just, recreational use of our facilities, I will tell you as a superintendent of schools, I'm not willing to just fully open them at this time until greater conversations are had, until we approach the start of the school year and kids actually returning to the educational program. That's the best answer I can give you at this time on athletics, but we certainly will keep you updated as things change. The next main part of our conversation tonight is the instructional plan for our junior senior high school, which includes students in grades 7 through 12. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to our junior senior high school principal, Kevin Warren. I have to help him out, Greg. Castings.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Harris. Welcome, everyone. We're going to take some time today to go over our high school instructional plan and hopefully be able to provide some answers to the questions that you have provided us. So I wanted to share with you today what our fall schedule is going to look like. And we are going to transition to a block schedule. Please know that this is a work in progress. And as we get more information, we will provide that information as things are going to operate for our building this year. We're going to transition into a 4x6 block schedule. What that means is that as we move to a 4x6 block schedule for the 2021 school year, we're going to have 4 blocks per day on a 6-day cycle with 3 odd days and 3 even days. I want to cover some of the reasons why we're changing to a block schedule. One of the biggest reasons that is it's going to reduce the number of possible contacts of students and staff during the school day. We currently have 9 periods with the same number of transitions per day. The block schedule effectively reduces the number of classrooms and hallway transitions by 50%. Each day, it will allow us to concentrate on the much needed areas of social emotional learning and support and relationship building between students and teachers. Our passing times may also need to be increased to reduce the number of transitions in the hallway. In order to do that, if we had a 40-minute period and we had to increase our transition times, that's going to reduce the number of minutes that our students would have in instructional minutes. It also slows the pace of the day, whereas typically students are transitioning from one period to the next every 40 minutes, they're going to transition every 80 minutes, and it should slow the pace of the day down. This could also help assist with pivot plans as either we return back to school full-time or we have to go to a full remote model. It also allows the hybrid model to blend a little bit easier. So we're able to work within our current schedule, and those transitions from hybrid to remote learning will be a little bit easier. There's some other benefits of a block schedule. The main one that I think is really important is that our students can focus on 3 to 4 classes per day instead of having that mental churn during the school day and having all those mental shifts. If you have 9 periods out of the day and you're in front of a teacher 6 to 8 of those periods, your mind is going from math to science to English to social studies to chorus to art to phys ed in one day. And that mental churn can really take some tolls on you and hopefully reduce some of the stress levels. It also will give us and have the ability to complete learning tasks throughout the day or throughout that course of period during the instructional periods of 80 minutes, because shifting from 40 minutes to 80 minutes, students will be able to complete some of those learning tasks in front of a teacher and be able to get either targeted help or some hurdle help during that time. There could also lead into less assignments, or it definitely does lead into less assignments during the course of one day. If you have only 3 or 4 classes per day versus 6 or 8, you're going to have less assignments for that day. And sometimes there is less homework because of in-class completion and your ability to work with a teacher and understand it in a live setting. So how does it work? So currently, students in the schedule, or last year, students would meet every day for 40 minutes. This year, they're going to meet every other day for 80 minutes. Those classes where they met last year that were worth half a credit and they met every other day, this year, they could also meet every other day in a 40-minute block, but most likely, they are going to meet every other day for 80 minutes for one semester. So they would get their 80 minutes for one semester and complete that half a credit. If students have a lab, typically that was just rolled right in. During our 6-day rotation, students would meet 2 out of a 6-day rotation for 40 minutes. In lessons typically met 40 minutes, we're probably still going to work within that structure, and they're going to meet for 40 minutes. I'm still currently working with Mrs. Mott to develop that and some things that we're working on together. So I don't anticipate that changing, but that could be a possibility. So this is what a block schedule looks like, kind of delineated. So if you look at block 1, 2, first period would be the first block, second would be the second block, and so on in our typical schedule of 9 periods. If we block 1, 2 together, that gives us our 40 minutes. We block 3, 4 together, that would be block 2. And then 5, 6, 7, right now, period 5 is scheduled for all 7th and 8th grade lunches, but we can also block periods 5, 6 and periods 5, 6, 7 to create an instructional period as well. And then we would also have block 8, 9, which would be, or we have periods 8, 9, which would be block 4. So what does a typical schedule look like? This is going to be a schedule from a student's lens. If I'm an AP student, this would be a senior schedule. If I'm an AP student, I would have on my odd day, day 1, I would have my 12 honors English. I would have participation in government. And then for block 3, I could have my AP Bio Lab because that's 40 minutes. I would have lunch, and then I could have orchestra, and then 80 minutes I would have calculus. On an even day, you would have AP Bio for 80 minutes. You could have potentially a study hall for 80 minutes. You have physical education, lunch, chorus, and then Spanish 4. I want to note, if you look at period 5, we have AP Bio Lab, as I stated before. Out of the 6-day rotation, you will only meet twice for 40 minutes out of that 6-day rotation for your lab, specifically really for science classes. If we look at our block schedule for just really, not necessarily just another senior, but I wanted to look at another senior schedule. And this is nobody's schedule. This is just kind of handmade and brought up. So PE, this is a student that is in good standing. They could have late arrival and they could have early dismissal. So PE wouldn't happen until period 2. Then they would have participation in government for block 2, lunch, and then block 6, 7, which would be, or period 6, 7, which would be block 3. They could have advanced studio art. and then they might be able to leave and have early release. On the even day, they may not have to come in until block 2. Pre-calc, lunch, modern carpentry, and then ELA 12. So that would be a typical student or a senior schedule, how that could get filled out and how that their blocks of time would be utilized. Within our rotation or within our day schedule, when we look at a week, if we look at a perfect week of 5 days, we're going to bring in students, 50% of the students at a time. And that's going to be grades 7 through 12. We are going to split it alphabetically. Currently, we're splitting them A through L, and that would be on an odd day and an even day. Those would be gray days. So each student is still going to be able to get an odd and even day throughout the course of the week. On Wednesday, it would be our remote learning. Our remote learning plans where our remote learners are going to be able to check in with our teachers for help during their office hours. Teachers will also use that time to plan. They'll also have some professional development and utilize it for developing their instruction for the hybrid model. Again, the odd day on Thursday and then an even day on Friday. Those would be the red students that would come in, and those would be students that are M through Z. So that's how we're going to break it up. So it's going to be A through L on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, remote learning, no students here. And then Thursday to Friday would be the M through Z students. So some of the frequently asked questions that I've seen that people have shared. What about CTE students at HFM BOCES? Those students, if a student chooses to go remote at HFM, then they need to be remote here at OESJ as well. If they choose to go hybrid or in person, then they would be hybrid here and they would be in person at HFM BOCES. That would be the same for some students that are in Ag-P or in the P-Tech program at HFM as well, and other programs. Can students stay focused this long? It's my experience after 15 years in the classroom and as an administrator in a block schedule that yes, students certainly can stay focused for this long. However, if our instruction doesn't change and we're lecturing for 40 minutes, then no, it's going to be a challenge. So, our professional development and working with teachers on what it is to teach in the block is going to be paramount for us to have success in this model. Do I have to be in class for 2 periods in a row like science? No, you don't. You won't be. Like I said, our model that we have is you would have your instructional period of 80 minutes for science class, and then on the opposite day, twice out of a 6-day cycle, you would have your lab for 40 minutes. Do students lose out on anything? I don't see anything that they lose out on. Honestly, there's some spaces in the schedule that I think they're able to gain some of those experiences with. So I think that they may gain some time, they may gain a little bit more instructional period, and also being able to connect with their teachers as well. If I'm a heavy music and art student, how will I get all of my classes? Again, I'm working with Mrs. Mott to work that out, but I do believe that it's going to offer some more opportunities for you to receive your music instruction and your arts instruction, and you won't miss out on anything there. What masks can be worn? We are saying that the only masks that can be worn are going to be the surgical type, the paper type that you do see that we're wearing here, or the cloth type. The ones that are not going to be allowed are going to be bandanas and the gator ones. And there's some research that has shown that those are the most effective masks, and that's why we are saying that those are the masks that will have to be worn. No other mask will be permitted. If a student comes in with them, they will be asked to remove it, and then we will provide them with one that is appropriate. Traffic patterns. So there's a lot of discussion that we have about traffic patterns and how are we going to move throughout the building. This also leads me to talk about traffic patterns from students getting off a bus and entering the building. We are currently working on a plan that our faculty is spearheaded, and we're trying to develop a plan that it could possibly be that we have 3 entrances, it could be that we have 2 entrances, or it could be that we have 1. But our traffic patterns are being developed as we currently speak. And one thing that we need to discuss, or that I need to let you know, is that students will not be allowed here just to be dropped off in the morning. No student should be dropped off any earlier than 7:35. You know, we just don't have the people to make sure that those students aren't congregating and that they're wearing their masks. It's just an unhealthy and unsafe environment. Will lunch be in the cafeteria or in the classrooms? Lunch will be in the cafeteria and most likely in the classrooms. We're working on our schedule right now to develop our plans to see where can we fit everybody, how will we fit them into our classrooms, what spacing do we have, and how are we going to fit them into the cafeteria. Obviously, everybody has to have 6 feet of social distancing and wear a mask, except in the cafeteria. They can remove it after they've been seated. Other questions that we have is bathrooms. What does that mean? So how are students going to use a bathroom? That's going to be developed also within our traffic patterns, and looking at that really from one floor to the next floor, and how we're going to be able to communicate that we're not really cross-contaminating or students coming in and out, and then students are meeting at those times. What will the instruction look like? Our hybrid model, we're going to be asynchronous learning, where there are a couple of different models that teachers are currently developing that they will share with the rest of the faculty, so we can kind of get a jump start on what it might look like. However, instruction in front of a person during a block schedule really should have those chunk of times that I stated before, in order for us to really learn the most effective way as possible. Students should expect that if they're here on the gray day, that they're going to have, if they're here on the gray day, the other students that are on a red day, they are still going to have to log in, and we're going to have attendance, because attendance will be taken, and our attendance policy will be strictly followed. Students need to log in. We need to make sure that they're accountable and that they're getting the work done that they need to. What masks can be worn and who has to wear a mask and when? I think I already answered that. It's just sorry about that. A little bit of redundancy there. Will students have PE classes? Yes, students will have PE classes. They will have to social distance 12 feet, and that's going to be up to the PE teacher where they're going to hold those classes. Obviously, it depends on the weather, but we're trying to leave the gymnasium as a space that students can spread out 12 feet apart, and we can utilize that space as much as possible. If they can go outside, then that would be recommended as much as possible as well. And will students transition from class to class? Yes, students are going to transition from class to class. We are going to have our traffic patterns. We will have to develop ways, and maybe, like I stated before, adjust our time schedule for those transition periods. That's going to be most effective, and that could be a living and breathing thing. We might have the first week of school, and students are here and they're transitioning from class to class, and we realize that this isn't working. We might have to change it. So we will update students and parents as much as we need to let you know that these are the changes that are being made. Will lunch be in the cafeteria, classrooms? I believe I answered that one already, right? Did I answer that? Yes, you did. Yeah. What will instruction look like? These are done. I didn't delete them. And attendance to remote learning. Attendance to remote learning, yes, it's going to be the same. That our Our students are going to still have to log in on a daily basis, and we're going to have to take attendance. They need to be accountable for their period of time. During that time of instruction is when they should be doing that body of work that needs to be done for their remote learning. That's all that I have for my presentation. Are there other questions that we have?
I lost Wi-Fi there for a second. So there were some questions, I think, about the code of conduct. And if there's kids being, picked on or made fun of for any mask that they're wearing. And I said this the other day in our previous forum on Monday, and I'll reiterate it. We are looking at amendments to our student code of conduct, or at least a board resolution, which allows the district to certainly pursue discipline towards students who are not either following mandated protocols from the Department of Health within the building or on school grounds, and certainly would something along those lines would fall under our code of conduct as far as the student behavior if bullying or something like that is taking place. So that's already covered in our code of conduct. It doesn't necessarily need an amendment because student behavior and protocols for what students are expected to conform to as far as the rules here is already outlined in our student code of conduct. That was one of the big ones that I saw, Mr. Warren.
Okay, thank you. Included. Welcome, Superintendent Harris, back up to the podium.
There is one question here.
Go ahead.
Does the student attendance day change each week, or is the gray always Monday, Tuesday, and the red group always Thursday, Friday?
Will be, students will always be gray on Monday, Tuesday, and it will be Thursday, Friday will be red. There will be a calendar that's posted. Obviously, not every week is going to be perfect where we have 5 days out of the week. So we will post a calendar of those days for odd, even, and we will develop that and get that posted up on red days and gray days.
Yeah, I said it the other day, and I'll say it again. As much as it's hard, again, the other day it was the 17th, now it's the 19th, to stand there and ask for patience. We are working on details and plans to communicate. We're even working on a summary sheet that we can get out to the public in the near future. If we're hoping to get it out today, but if not today, certainly tomorrow, to outline the changes. And we certainly have to update our reopening plan that we put on the website on July 31st. As we make changes to our instructional plan, and based on that and that document we put on the 31st, we do need to continue to update that. We can't just leave that sitting in the old form if we're going to make changes. I will tell you that since that document's been released on the 31st, and even in the last couple of days, I would say a lot of changes have taken place. And I mentioned the other day that there seems like changes come to us daily. And yesterday, we certainly received a large announcement about our state aid that we're going to receive, and that districts across New York State are going to receive. That announcement in and of itself, a 20% reduction and possible reduction in state aid, has certainly caused us to relook at some things in our plan. So it's not that we're keeping anything from you. It's just, as I said the other day, I am not going to put something out there and make it public until I know that it's something we can implement. We are also looking at changes, and I will be discussing this at my Board of Education meeting tonight, changes to the school calendar that can certainly affect professional development days and superintendent's conference days for teachers, and a possible slight delay in the start of the school year for students. But that is not official until it's something that is board approved, as the calendar needs to be. So that will be official business that will be being discussed at the public meeting, board meeting that's being held tonight at 6 o'clock here at the high school, in the junior senior high school auditorium, and will also be live streamed via WebEx and YouTube. So again, continuing developments daily. The one announcement yesterday with state aid was a big one, and certainly one that impacted decisions that we are making. And as those in that information continues to come at us, we continue to respond to it as quickly as possible, and we will continue to get this information out to the public. Now that we're able to have these public forums, now that we're able to see the questions and answers you may have based on the proposed plan that we're putting out there for reopening, it does give us a better sense of saying, they know where we're coming from. We fielded their questions and answered them to the best of our ability. And now we feel comfortable putting things out on the website and starting to release things such as schedules and such. That's not going to come out tomorrow by any means, but it is stuff we can get more aggressive and move forward with now that we've had a chance to outline our plan to the public and to parents and had a chance to receive questions and certainly review them. So just like I did on Monday, I want to thank you if you are in attendance. I know it's a difficult time at 4 o'clock, and I'm well aware, but like I just said, I do have a Board of Education meeting tonight that I certainly need to hold, and we couldn't do both at the same time. That's the benefit of the recordings, and therefore you can watch them whenever you need to, 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night. Once we get the video, live video, or the recorded video, I'm sorry, up to the website, you will be able to access it and watch it in its entirety at that time. So, Mr. Roth, are there any further questions?
There was one question, will students be carrying their backpacks around the building?
Yes, what we are in the process of looking at is students will only be able to bring in a clear backpack or a mesh bag backpack for safety reasons. And yes, they will have to carry them around the building from class to class. Obviously, we're not going to be able to use the lockers, and those things are going to impact what students are going to be able to bring. So those are in discussions, and we are developing a plan with our faculty that we feel that is going to be safe for everybody in our building.
Thanks, Mr. Warren. So just to summarize, I think as we pay attention to the news daily, different states around us have done some different things. We certainly are functioning under the guidance we're receiving from the Department of Education, the Department of Health, the Governor's Office. I just ask that, the compare and contrast of why this and not that. Every district and every state has its own unique set of circumstances. We certainly have reviewed and looked at other plans and try to determine what validity they might have for the students and staff in our district. When it all boils down to it, the only thing we can be worried about, and the only thing we can be concerned with is OESJ. We have different concerns when it comes to transportation and staffing and budget and different things. It's not uniform across the board. So I ask that while other schools may come out or other states may come out with plans that are different and then do things in a different manner, doesn't mean they're things that we could have implemented here at OESJ. And I assure you, we have done our due diligence to look through all possible modalities of providing instruction to provide a great educational experience for your children, but at the same time, emphasize health and safety. We've done it tirelessly. I can't even quantify the number of hours we spent meeting and discussing these types of things. And we hear your concerns. We're going to continue to address them. But please understand, we had to do what's best for OESJ, and what's best for OESJ might not be the same as what's best for a neighboring school, a school further away, or even a school in another state. Everybody has their own unique set of circumstances, and I ask that you please understand that and appreciate that we're doing what's best for the students and staff and parents and community in the OESJ Central School District, because that's really where our focus is, not in somebody else's district or in somebody else's state. Again, if you have further questions that we're not addressing tonight, or if for some reason, and it wasn't purposeful, we overlooked a question that you may have submitted, please remind us that we did not answer that question. We will attend to it in some fashion. Somebody will get back to you. And if you think of questions after the forum, or if you are watching the recording of this forum, that Google form is still live. It's still accessible. And our email addresses are obviously posted right on the website. And you can absolutely contact us via email as well, and we'll do our very best to get you an answer. So once again, thank you. We appreciate your time and taking time out of your day. Our next forum will be tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. And the focus of tomorrow night will be on food service and the instructional plan for grades pre-K through 6 in our elementary school. And again, there might be even some more updates that I have for you tomorrow based on developments over the last 24 hours. And we will be notifying you if we post things on the district website that are updates and more details on the plans K through 12. We will get those on the website and notify you via our school information system and all-call system so that you can look over those beforehand to be able to submit questions based on those details.